Good afternoon, everybody. You were listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball. My name is Payne Patchett, and this is game number 12 in the 2018 Varsity Baseball season between the Lake Stevens Vikings and the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. After Mount Vernon beat Lake Stevens yesterday 10-8 on April 17th, we are now here on Wednesday, April 18th, 2018, here at beautiful Sherman Anderson Field here at Mount Vernon, Washington, as Lake Stevens looks to get revenge on Mount Vernon. On the mound for the Lake Stevens Vikings will be number 34, Will Wentz, making his first start in a couple of weeks. His last start was the first conference game against the Cascade Bruins, but due to arm discomfort, he wasn't able to pitch for the past couple of weeks. Didn't pitch in the series against Kamiak, and didn't pitch in his expected start against Kamiak in the second game, where Connor Bardou took over for his place. The Vikings lost that game 6-4, and now Will Wentz looked like he's better now on the mound with his arm. Looks like getting ready to show his stuff against Mount Vernon. Starting for the Bulldogs, it's a pretty interesting choice by head coach Tony Wolden. Instead of the last year's number 2 starting pitcher, which was number 9, Ryan Morrill, it'll be number 32, Hudson Rhines, a junior who Mount Vernon has used in the beginning part of the year against some non-conference opponents such as Burlington Edison and Ferndale, to see how good he's been. So far, he's been pretty decent, but let's see how good he is against a conference opponent. The Lake Stevens Vikings coming into this game with 4 wins and 7 losses and a 3-4 conference record, while the Mount Vernon Bulldogs are 1 win away from double digits. They are 9 wins and 4 losses with a conference record of 5 wins and 2 losses. When we come back, it'll be the top of the first inning. Lake Stevens coming to the plate for the first time this afternoon as they look to split the series here between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon here at Sherman Anderson Field. And we are back here at the top of the first inning here between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And again, the starting pitcher for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs, number 34, Hudson Rhines, who is normally Mount Vernon's number 3 pitcher. And he'll face off against the leadoff hitter for Lake Stevens, number 11, Ben Pizer. First pitch upstairs for a ball 1. Ben Pizer now with the team lead of a .474 batting average, 18 hits and 38 at-bats. The 1-0 pitch inside for a ball 2. Ben Pizer, he's been hit once, has scored 14 runs, has hit 2 doubles, has hit 2 triples, and has been walked 5 times, knocking in 4 runs and getting 4 for 4 on stolen bases. And the 2-0 pitch is a strike 1 right down the middle. The lineup for the Lake Stevens Vikings: Ben Pizer, Trey Long, and Connor Bardou once again, along with Will Wentz, Christian Lapierre, and at the 6th spot is Theron Perkins, and the 2-1 pitch, a strike 2 looking. This one hitting the bottom part of the strike zone. Theron Perkins playing at the 6th spot and as the designated hitter. The 2-2 pitch, a foul chopper, this one going into the Lake Stevens dugout after a couple of bounces on the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Theron Perkins making his first start since March 31st, the last time the Vikings played an actual road game against Cascade. The 2-2 foul ball hitting the fence. And due to a minor back problem, he wasn't able to play in the series against Mariner and Kamiak, and wasn't able to play the first game against Mount Vernon yesterday. The 2-2 pitch upstairs, ball 3, full count 3-2 on the first batter to the senior southpaw Ben Pizer. There'll be Hunter Zalesko at shortstop, Tanner Lynn at right, and the payoff pitch upstairs for a ball 4, Lake Stevens. Starting off with a runner on first base and Ben Pizer. And now here is number 5, Trey Long, coming into this game with a .393 batting average, 11 hits and 28 at-bats, with 3 RBIs and is 1 for 1 on stolen bases. And the first pitch by Hudson, upstairs, ball 1. Ben hinting on going to second. It'll be Hunter Zalesko, the shortstop at the 7th spot. Tanner Lynn, the right fielder at the 8th spot. And Brandon Miller, number 2, as the Vikings are wearing their road black uniforms, which means the numbers are different for a couple people. He'll be at second base in the 9th spot. The 1-0 upstairs inside for a ball 2. The reserves for Lake Stevens: Jacob Gordon, Alec Ibachuan, Justin Troya, Jacob Wardala, Bryce Mefford, Aaron Lampinen, Tommy Lindgren, and making his varsity debut, wearing the varsity uniform for the first time, is number 32, Xander Fogel. Timeout by Mount Vernon as Tony Wolden, along with the starting catcher Finn Wilson, go into the mound. Going to talk to Hudson Rhines. The defensive lineup for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. On the mound is Hudson Rhines, and behind the plate is Finn Wilson. In the infield is Ryan Morrill, Travis Ord, Sven Larson, and Riley Olmstead. Same infield as yesterday. And on the outfield is Dylan Sir, Ian Fitzgerald, and Dylan Carter. Same outfield as yesterday with a designated hitter. The 2-0 ground ball. This one getting to Rhines. Throw to second to Ord. Throw to first is in time, and this will be a 1-6-3 double play to end the immediate threat by Lake Stevens in the top of the first inning. A 1-6-3 to bring up the starting third baseman, number 5, Connor Bardou. He is coming into this game with a .467 batting average, 14 hits and 30 at-bats with 9 RBIs, and is tied for the team lead in stolen bases with 5. Hudson, the first pitch. Outside, ball 1. And so it will be number 3, Kyle Wolden. He will be the designated hitter, not for the right fielder Carter, but for the pitcher Rhines. The 1-0 pitch outside for a ball 2. So Dylan Carter, he had someone be a DH for him yesterday. It looks like he's going to be in the lineup today. The 2-0, strike 1 looking. He's been hit 4 times, has scored a team-high 15 runs, has hit 3 doubles, and has been walked 10 times this year. The 2-1, upstairs, ball 3. He's also hit the team's only home run this season. He had a solo shot in the 6th inning to left field against Linwood, en route to a 6-0 win for the Vikings. The 3-1, fly ball. This one going into left center field. Back goes to center fielder Ian Fitzgerald, who will make the catch. And that'll be a 1-2-3 inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on in the top of the first, as Will Wentz, for the first time in a week and a half, will be starting on the mound, facing off against the shortstop Travis Ord, the center fielder Ian Fitzgerald, and the left fielder Dylan Sir in the bottom of the first. No score. And we are now back into the bottom of the first inning. Lake Stevens will be starting on defense for the first time in this game. It's the starting pitcher for the Lake Stevens Vikings, number 34, Will Wentz, making his 5th start of the year, facing off against the shortstop Travis Ord. First pitch, a strike 1 looking. Will Wentz coming into this game undefeated, a 2-0 record with an ERA of 1.60. He has thrown 13 1/3 innings, striking out 4 batters. The 0-1, upstairs, ball 1. He has allowed 9 hits, has walked 7 batters, and has allowed 3 earned runs in 4 games. And the 1-1 by Will. Swing and a miss, strike 2. The lineup for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs, Travis Ord, Ian Fitzgerald, and Dylan Sir. This lineup very similar to yesterday, but for anyone who did not listen to yesterday's recording, here is what the lineup is for Mount Vernon. The 1-2 pitch upstairs, ball 2. It'll be Sven Larson, the cleanup hitter at second base. Riley Olmstead this time is the 5 batter, compared to Ryan Morrill being the 5 batter yesterday. The 2-2 pitch, foul ball hitting the fence behind home plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes. It'll be Riley Olmstead and Ryan Morrill. They're going to be switching spots today. Ryan Morrill is at the 5 spot, while Riley Olmstead is in the 6 spot. Finn Wilson will be catching. Kyle Wolden is at the 8 spot. And the 2-2 pitch, that one is a close pitch by Will Wentz. It'll be a ball 3, full count 3-2. That's the same thing Hudson Rhines had to face back in the top of the first. A full count on the first batter. That ended in a walk to Ben Pizer. The payoff pitch. Strike 3 called. Travis Ord looked like he was going to toss his bat there. And that was a close pitch right there. The Mount Vernon bench reacting to that one. It'll be the first strikeout of the afternoon for both teams. The first strikeout for Will Wentz. It'll face off against the center fielder Ian Fitzgerald. First pitch by Will. This one, a check swing ground ball, fielded by the first baseman Tate Brust, who touches the first base bag in time. For the second out of the first inning, brings up the left fielder Dylan Sir, the left fielder. And the batters for the 8 and 9 spot for the Mount Vernon lineup, they're different. It'll be Kyle Wolden, who is the designated hitter. He was the pinch runner in yesterday's game. He'll be the 8 spot. And Dylan Carter, the guy who Skylar Jensen DH'd for yesterday. He will be in the 9 spot instead of Skylar Jensen. And the first pitch is strike one looking, the 0-1 to Will. Swing and a miss, strike two. And there will be 4 reserves for Mount Vernon. Skylar Jensen, Dane Williams, Cole Williams, and Lane Harlan will sit in the dugout for today's game after starting in yesterday's game. In the 0-2 pitch, a one-hopper to the catcher Trey Long. The defensive lineup for the Lake Stevens Vikings. On the mound is Will Wentz, and behind the plate is Trey Long. On the infield, Connor Bardou, Hunter Zalesko, Brendan Miller, and Tate Brust. And on the outfield is Ben Pizer, Christian LaPierre, and Tanner Lynn. The 1-2 pitch, line drive ball, that gets past the glove of a diving Brandon Miller at second base. And Mount Vernon has their first hit of the afternoon, a 2-out single by Dylan Sir, the left fielder. Brings up the cleanup hitter, second baseman number 8, Sven Larson. So Mount Vernon wearing their home white uniforms, where they have the white jerseys and the white pants and a green numbers on the back and a green Bulldogs chest height in the jersey. First pitch by Will. Hard hit ball. This one going into right center field. This one is caught by the right fielder Tanner Lynn. And the inning is now over. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on. Mount Vernon gets a hit, but it does not amount to anything. We go into the top of the second inning, where it will be Hudson Ryans facing off against the middle batters of Will Wentz, Christian LaPierre, and Theron Perkins, making his return to the Lake Stevens lineup. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back into the top of the second inning. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. Anyone's game at this point early in the game. Hudson Rhines back on the mound facing off against his counterpart, Will Wentz, number 34. First pitch, a foul chopper. This one landing in foul territory before the catcher Finn Wilson could pick it up. It'll be an 0-1 count. Will Wentz is coming into this game with a .294 batting average, 10 hits and 34 at-bats. Has been hit 3 times, has scored 6 runs, has hit 4 doubles, has a team-high 4 doubles, and has been walked 4 times this year. And the 0-1 by Hudson. This one low and outside, ball 1. And Hudson, even though he had a 1-2-3 top of the first inning, it was a pretty rough one. 9 balls on 7 strikes for 16 pitches. Fortunately, it ended with no runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on. The 1-1. Check swing. Strike 2 looking. Will getting tricked by Hudson's slow curveball there. And the 1-2 by Hudson. Fly ball. This one going into left center field, short left center field, where the center fielder Ian Fitzgerald will call for it. And we'll get it for the first out in the top of the second inning. Brings up the number 5 hitter, the center fielder Christian LaPierre. He had a pretty interesting game yesterday where he got what looked like an RBI double. He later ran over the third, while Will Wentz was right in the middle of a rundown between third and home. Then he saw that no one was at home plate. First pitch, a foul. It'll hit the fence, hit the netting above the Mount Vernon dugout along the third base side. He then later got out after trying to get to home plate, after finding out that no one was covering home plate, taking advantage of a flaw that Mount Vernon had. Could have been an inside the park home run. Instead, it ended in a RBI triple. Inside, ball 1.
Yeah, here we go. Here you go.
Instead, it was an RBI triple, but it'll end, what was it, like a 5, like an 8-2-5-1, something like that. And the 1-1 pitch, a foul ball hitting the fence, 1-2 count. And Hudson Rhines, it looks like he might be Mount Vernon's secret weapon this year into getting success this season. The 1-2 pitch outside, ball 2. As I said earlier, Hudson Rhines, he had some success last year, or not last year, but earlier this year in pitching in non-conference games. And the 2-2 pitch, a slow grounder. This one going to the second baseman Larson, who tosses it to first, and it gets past the first baseman Riley Olmstead. LaPierre is racing to second base, and he'll get to second on an error by the second baseman, Sven Larson. And the Vikings have a runner in scoring position with 1 out. They'll bring up the designated hitter, number 6, Theron Perkins, making his first start since March 31st, the last time that the Vikings played a game outside Lake Stevens High School. They played at Cascade, in which the Vikings lost by the score of 4-3. And then he didn't play for the next 5 games. He didn't play in the last 5 games due to a back problem, but he is in the lineup for the first time. Throw to second, not in time to try and get Christian. And Theron, he was a pinch hitter in yesterday's game. He was pinch hitting for Tate Brust, who was a designated hitter for the pitcher Justin Troya. He got a single on a 1-1 pitch and later got a stolen base. First pitch, check swing, did he go? Yes, he did. Strike one looking. So that was even though Lake Stevens, they didn't do anything in that bottom of the 7th inning, even though when they were trailing 10-8, it was good to see that Theron Perkins would go into the lineup, and LaPierre is stuck in a rundown. And Christian LaPierre gets tagged by the third baseman Ryan Morrill. In a rundown between second and third, LaPierre slipping on the infield dirt. And it'll be a 1-6-5, the second out already, and the threat's already over for the Lake Stevens Vikings. Once again, with a threat on the base paths ending just like that on the infield. And the 0-1 pitch, a strike 2 looking. And Theron, overall this year with a .333 batting average, 6 hits and 18 at-bats with 4 RBIs. And the 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3, highlighted by the rundown of Christian LaPierre for the second out of the second inning. The Bulldogs will get out of it. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and nobody left on. As we now go into the bottom of the second inning, Will Wentz going back onto the mound, facing off against the 5, 6, and 7 batters of Riley Olmstead, Ryan Morrill, and Finn Wilson in the bottom of the second inning. No score. And we are now back into the bottom of the second inning. No score between the Vikings and the Bulldogs. Will Wentz facing off against the first baseman Riley Olmstead. Low for a ball, 1 in the dirt to the catcher Trey Long. It'll be the first baseman Riley Olmstead, the third baseman Ryan Morrill, and the catcher Finn Wilson. Riley Olmstead, he was 1 for 2 with an RBI double in the 6th. And the 1-0 pitch, a strike 1 looking. He was walked twice. And in those 2 times he got walked, he was replaced by pinch runners. And the 1-1 pitch, swing and a missed strike 2 by the junior Riley Olmstead. He struck out swinging in the 5th off of Jacob Gordon. And then hit an RBI double in the 6th inning. He was the 9th batter of that inning. And the 1-2 pitch, this one barely getting fouled. This one getting past the glove of the first baseman Tate Brust. And this one landing on the wrong side of the foul line. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Will shaking off a sign from Trey Long. The 1-2 pitch upstairs, ball 2. And Will Wentz, he had apart from allowing the 2-out single to Dylan Sir, he had a pretty decent first inning. 4 balls and 9 strikes and 13 pitches. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. 1 runner left on. And the 1-0 by Will. Check swing and a strike 3 called for the first out of the second inning. It is the second punch out for Will Wentz this afternoon. And it'll bring up the number 6 hitter, the guy on the hot corner, number 9, Ryan Morrill. And Will, the windup in the first pitch. Strike 1 looking, using the curveball. Will shaking off a sign, the windup in the 0-1. Strike 2 pitch, using the curveball again on Morrill. And the 0-2 pitch, low for a ball 1. Last season, when the Vikings played the Mount Vernon Bulldogs in the West Coast semifinals, Mount Vernon was in the bottom of the 7th inning, and they were trailing 5-4 when Will Wentz was put on the mound. The 1-2 pitch under the strike zone for a ball 2. Wentz, he came into that game with a record of 2-0 and an ERA just under 2, 1.94. The 2-2 pitch, outside ball 3, full count 3-2. When he got in, he was 1 out in the bottom of the 7th inning, and it was 5-2. Lake Stevens with the bases loaded. where he faced off against 4 batters. And the payoff pitch, a one-hopper to the catcher Trey Long for a ball 4, the first walk for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs here in the bottom of the second inning. And from an 0-2 count to a 3-2 count, Mount Vernon has their first walk of the game, brings up the starting catcher, number 23, Finn Wilson. The first batter that Will faced was against Ian Bache, who is a senior. Throw to first, not in time. He was a senior on Mount Vernon's team last year. He hit an RBI single that scored a run, made it 5-3. The next batter he faced was the first baseman, Zach Douglas, who also graduated. First pitch, ground ball. This one going to Zalesko. Nice pick. Throw to second in time. And Brandon Miller not able to throw to first for the double play, but will get this out at second base. And a nice play by Hunter Zalesko in short right field to get the out and to throw at second. Finn Wilson will go to first base, and there will be a pinch runner. There'll be a pinch runner for Mount Vernon. That'll be number 12, Cole Williams. He was the pinch runner for Finn Wilson yesterday at Lake Stevens High School. And now, speaking of pinch runners, the guy who was pinch running for Riley Olmsted yesterday is now up at the plate. That is number 3, Kyle Walden. Throw to first, not in time. And so in that 7th inning, flew out to the center fielder. And Zach Douglas made him fly out to center field. And Alex Couch, who is pitching for Riley Olmsted in the last inning, he got on base on a walk with the bases loaded. First pitch, a check swing, strike 1, or an 0-1 count. The bases loaded, made the score 5-4 with the game-tying run at first, and the run to bring them to the championship was at second. And the number 7 batter was Cooper Tobiasen, the third baseman, who is incredible all year for Mount Vernon against the Vikings. He had a check swing ground ball to the pitcher Will Wentz, who tossed it to the catcher Braden Smoots. And the 0-1 pitch, a swing and a missed strike 2. He tossed it. It was a rough toss to the catcher Braden Smoots. He was the catcher before Trey Long was, and got, who did he get out at home plate? It was the number 3 hitter Dylan Sir, who was the left fielder for Mount Vernon last year. And the 0-2 pitch, a foul ball hits the fence above the backstop behind home plate. And so it was Ian Fitzgerald, who was the number 2 hitter in that game last year. Dylan Sir, he was the number 3 hitter. Riley Olmsted, he was the number 6 hitter in that game last year. The 0-2 pitch, ball 1. This one going on top of the strike zone. And Sven Larson was the number 8 hitter in that game, and Travis Ord was the number 9 hitter in that game. Larson was the right fielder. Ord was the second baseman. Throw to first, not in time. And the guy who was playing shortstop for Mount Vernon was a guy by the name of Nick Sokol, who was a 3-year starter for Mount Vernon at shortstop, and now Travis Ord is replacing him and taking over for him at that position. The 1-2 pitch, foul ball, hitting the fence again. And Nick Sokol was versatile. He was fast. He could hit the ball, and got an All-Wesco first-team honor last year. And the 1-2 pitch by Will. Foul ball. This one hitting the netting, and like a trampoline is bouncing right back onto the field, and it falls right in front of the Lake Stevens dugout along the first base side. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs. Will ahead of the count, and the 1-2 pitch. Foul ball. Kyle Walden fighting for the at-bat. And Riley Olmsted, he finished 0 for 3 with a couple of grounders couple of ground outs to the shortstop. Sven Larson, he got a run in that game. And the 1-2 pitch, low for a ball 2. Travis Ord was 0 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt. Sven Larson scored. Ian Fitzgerald got a couple runs in there. And the 2-2 pitch, ball 3, again, Will Wentz. From an 0-2 count to a 3-2 count again. And he'll be throwing the 10th pitch of this at-bat, the payoff pitch. Runner goes. And Cole Williams was ready to go to second base. And it'll be a foul ball. And Will Wentz now going to throw his 11th pitch of this at-bat. Kyle Walden doing a pretty good job fighting. The payoff pitch. Runner goes. Strike 3 called, and he gets him looking. And that is how you end an 11-pitch at-bat. Is the third punch out of the afternoon, and it will end the second inning. No runs, no hits, no errors. 1 runner left on, and through 2. It is no score. Hudson Ryan's going back onto the mound. He'll be facing off against the bottom 3 hitters, Hunter Zalesko, Tanner Lind, and Braden Miller. Brendan Miller. I'm still having trouble trying to say that name. In the top of the third inning, no score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back in the top of the third inning. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. Hudson Ryan's back on the mound. He'll be facing off against the number 7 hitter, the starting shortstop, number 22, Hunter Zalesko. Coming into this game, hitting a .267 batting average, 8 hits and 30 at-bats. First pitch by Hudson. It'll be a foul chopper. This one fielded by Ryan Morrill. The throw to first is, once again, gets past Riley Olmstead at first base. Hunter goes to second, and this time it'll be an error by Ryan Morrill, and the Vikings once again has a runner in scoring position. It was a slow chopper. It looked like Hudson Rhynes was going to pick it up, but Ryan Morrill came racing from the hot corner to pick it up with his glove. He throws to first. He throws it wide right to the first baseman, Riley Olmstead. And that's the second time that a ball got past him. And a timeout by Mount Vernon. With Tony Walden, the head coach, going to talk to the home plate umpire and a couple of the infielders. And everyone but Ryan Morrill, who is staying at third base, is on the mound to talk to Hudson Rhynes. And now play will resume. It is Tanner Lind with a .179 batting average, 5 hits and 28 at-bats, with one of those 5 hits being an RBI double. Yeah, it was a 2-run double against Kamiak. Hunter goes back to second base. Mount Vernon trying to trick Hunter into going to third. Travis moving to third base. Sven moving to second to field the ball. And Tanner Lind, 3 RBIs, and is also 2 for 2 on stolen bases during his days of pinch running. And Hudson looking over at second. No one at the second base bag to catch the baseball, as Hunter is all alone there. And Hudson, the first pitch to Tanner. They'll go low and inside, ball 1. And Hudson, apart from that error in the second inning, but was able to get out of it after a rundown. It was a pretty decent inning. It was way better than the first inning. 3 balls on 9 strikes and 12 pitches, with a total of 12 balls, 16 strikes, and 28 pitches. The 1-0 inside, ball 2. Allowing no runs, no hits, 1 error, and nobody left on, and that is the total for Hudson Rhynes through 2 innings. Now it's 2 errors and 1 runner left on so far through 2+ innings. And Hudson, the 2-0 pitch. Fly ball, that one hitting the netting and falling right in front of the Mount Vernon dugout. And Sherman Anderson Field, it's about a good 5 miles. It's on the other side of town from Mount Vernon High School. And it is right across from the Skagit County Fairgrounds, where they would hold the county fair every summer. The 2-1 pitch. Hard hit ball. This one going into left field. This will be caught by the left fielder Dylan Sir, who throws to second. And that's another play by the Mount Vernon defense to end the threat. It was a slow line drive ball. It is caught by the left fielder Dylan Sir. It'll be a 7-6 double play. Their second double play of the game. It'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Braden Miller, as Hunter Zalesko was too far away from second base. Timeout by Brandon. Miller with a .200 batting average, 3 hits and 15 at-bats. He's been hit once, scored 1 run, hit 1 double, hit 1 triple, and has been walked once this year. First pitch. Strike 1 looking right down the middle. Also has 4 RBIs and is 1 for 1 on stolen bases this year. And the 0-1 by Hudson. Strike 2 looking. He's using the curveball on that last pitch on Miller. And the 0-2 pitch by Hudson. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and that will end the top of the third. Once again, Mount Vernon gets out of the inning after a play by their defense. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and nobody left on. At the end of 2.5, it is still no score, as Will Wentz will come back onto the mound, facing off against the 9-1 and 2 hitters of Dylan Carter, Travis Ord, and Ian Fitzgerald. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back into the bottom of the third inning. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. Will Wentz back on the mound, facing off against the number 9 hitter, Dylan Carter. First pitch by Will. It'll go ball 1 under the strike zone. Will Wentz had a pretty rough second inning, highlighted by that 11-pitch final at-bat against Kyle Walden. And the 1-0, check swing, and he did not go. Ball 2 goes above the strike zone. He threw 9 balls for 15 strikes for 24 pitches, with a total of 13 balls, 24 strikes, and 37 pitches. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on. The 2-0 by Will. Ball 3, this one going above the strike zone. With a total of no runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 2 runners left on for Mount Vernon in this game. And Will, and behind the count, the 3-0. Strike 1 looking. Right down the middle for a 3-1 count. And the postseason reserves for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs include some of the people we see now. Dane Williams, Lane Harlan, and the 3-1 pitch inside for a ball 4, Dylan Carter will go to first on a leadoff walk to start off the bottom of the third. Timeout by Lake Stevens. The head coach Josh White along with the catcher Trey Long going to the mound to talk to Will Wentz. And the reserves for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs in that semifinal game, Finn Wilson, he was the backup catcher to Carson Goodman. Hudson Rhines, who is the starting pitcher now. Dane Williams, one of the reserves. Lane Harlan, now a reserve, but he pitched and I'm pretty sure was in the infield. Yeah, he played first base. Sam Nelson, he is a guy who was on the Mount Vernon varsity roster, but has mostly been playing junior varsity this year. Then you have Eric McGahee, who now graduated. Ian Bache, now graduated. Alex Couch, now graduated. And then Ryan Morrill was a normal reserve for last year's Mount Vernon team. And Kyle Walden, who was mostly a junior varsity player last year, now is a common reserve for the varsity team now. Going back to the top of the order for the first time around, Travis Ord, throw to first, not in time. Struck out looking on a full count. It is last time up in the bottom of the first inning. And the first pitch by Will. Travis trying to bunt for it. Strike 1 looking for an 0-1 count. And Will, the 0-1, tries bunting for it. This one going to the pitcher, Will Wentz, who tosses it to the first baseman, Tate Brust, for the first out. And Mount Vernon has their first runner beyond first base today.
Now batting, the center fielder, number 27, Ian Fitzgerald.
They'll bring up the number 2 hitter, Ian Fitzgerald, who grounded out on the first pitch he saw in a check swing to the first baseman, Tate Brust, for the second out of that first inning. And the first pitch by Will. Strike 1 looking. And will get the sign from Trey Long. Looking over at second base in the 0-1. Fly ball. This one going into left field. Left center field, Christian LaPierre. Right near it, but it'll be Hunter Zalesko who will dash into the scene to get that one for the second out.
Now batting, the left fielder,
It will keep Dylan Carter at second base. And it'll bring up the number 3 hitter, Dylan Sir, who had a 2-1 pitch to right field for the first hit for Mount Vernon. In this game, first pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. Mount Vernon still with a runner in scoring position. And Will looking over at second. The windup in the 0-1. Going outside and low, ball 1. Dylan Sir, he has the only hit in this game so far for both teams. And it is the only hit for Mount Vernon, as Lake Stevens is hitless through 3. And the 1-1 by Will. Fly ball, this one playable. This one going in the infield. The first baseman, Tate Brust, under it, and will make the catch to end the threat and end the third inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on. Nice job by Will on the mound, and a nice job by the defense to end the threat. Hudson Rhines going back on the mound for his 4th inning of work. He'll face off against the top 3 batters, Ben Pizer, Trey Long, and Connor Bardou. For the second time around, no score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back into the top of the 4th inning. No score between Lake Stevens Vikings and the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. Lake Stevens, they are hitless through 3 innings. They had 3 base runners on, and they all got out on. They were all thrown out or tagged out on plays by the Mount Vernon defense. And one of the guys that was on base was the leadoff hitter and the first batter in this inning, number 11, Ben Pizer. First pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. Ben Pizer, he got on base on a full count walk, and then later got out on a 1-6-3 double play that was hit by the on-deck hitter, Trey Long. And the 0-1 by Hudson. Line drive ball, this one's foul. Going into the Lake Stevens bullpen right next to the dugout. No balls and 2 strikes. And Hudson getting the sign from Finn Wilson. Ahead of the count, the 0-2. Strike 3 called. And Hudson Rhines gets the first out on 3 pitches. The second consecutive 3-pitch out. And all 3 strikeouts for Hudson Rhines have been on 3 pitches, all of them strikes. And it brings up the number 2 hitter, Trey Long, who hit a 2-0 pitch. It was a slow chopper to the pitcher, Hudson Rhines, who threw it to second, who threw it to first. First pitch, a strike 1 looking. In that 3rd inning, 2 balls and 6 strikes for 8 pitches, with a total of 14 balls, 22 strikes, and 36 pitches. The 0-1. Check swing, did he go? He did not go. Ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. And in the inning, no runs, no hits, 1 error, and nobody left on for a total of no runs, no hits, 2 errors, and no one left on. The 1-1. Fly ball. This one playable. This one in foul territory. The first baseman, Riley Olmstead, under it, and will make the catch for the second out in foul territory. For the second out in the 4th inning. And there, you can tell that there's a couple Mount Vernon players who are excited by that. You can hear Ian Fitzgerald from center field all the way from here. Now, right next to the Lake Stevens bleachers, here's right next to the Lake Stevens bleachers. That's, oh my goodness, that's a good, 45 yards away. That's a lot of testosterone. It brings up the number 3 hitter, Connor Bardou, who hit a fly ball to the center fielder, Ian Fitzgerald, for the final out in the top of the 1st. First pitch, a strike 1 looking. And the 0-1 by Hudson. Check swing, did he go? Yes, he did, an 0-2 count. And Hudson, the 0-2 pitch. Line drive ball. This one going to the second baseman, Sven Larson, who throws to first. And it'll be another 1-2-3 inning for Hudson Rhines. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on as the end the top of the 4th inning. Will Wentz coming back onto the mound, facing off against the 3 middle hitters of Sven Larson, Riley Olmstead, and Ryan Morrill for the second time around. In the bottom of the 4th, no score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back into the bottom of the 4th inning. Will Wentz back on the mound in what looks like an apparent pitcher's duel as we get to the halfway point of this game. Will Wentz facing off against the cleanup hitter Sven Larson, who flew out to the right fielder Tanner Lind on the first pitch he saw. First pitch, low for a ball one. Looked like Mount Vernon was getting the will a little bit in the third inning, but nonetheless, he threw 5 balls for 7 strikes and 12 pitches for a total of 18 balls, 31 strikes, and a total of 49 pitches. And the 1-0, this one low for a ball 2, and the ball gets away from the catcher Trey Long. It'll be Sven Larson, the second baseman, the first baseman Riley Olmstead, and the third baseman Ryan Morrill. And Will behind on the count, 2-0. Strike one looking. And in that inning, it was no runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on. Again, for a total of no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 3 runners left on. Total for Mount Vernon in this game. The 2-1 pitch by Will. Fly ball. This one is out for a foul. And this one going way behind the Lake Stevens bleachers, right next to the senior center, going on the senior center, right behind the Lake Stevens bleachers and right behind a wooden fence separating both the senior center and the field. And the 2-2 pitch by Will, ground ball off the glove of Wentz. A nice play by Brandon Miller, who snags the ball right next to the second base bag. Throw to first is in time. An amazing heads-up play by the second baseman Miller for the first out. And now, Tony Walden, the manager for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs, he's going to talk to the umpire to see if he is out, and it looks like they're going to review the call. And from this angle, you can hear him a little bit. Tony Walden's reacting like he didn't get the call he wanted, and he didn't. Guy's out. And that'll be the first out in the bottom of the 4th inning, and Tony Walden is irate on that one. And it'll bring up the number 5 hitter, Riley Olmstead, who struck out looking on a 2-2 count in his first time up back in the 2nd inning. And the first pitch by Will. Strike one looking. That one hitting the top part of the strike zone. Tony Walden, who was playing as the third base coach for Mount Vernon, even yesterday, he looked visibly upset at most of the calls he saw that were against his team. The 0-1 pitch, ball 1. It's unlike any of the other coaches around the area. Tony Walden, the manager for Mount Vernon, the one with the most personality, you could say. The 1-1 pitch, low for a ball 2. But so far, we haven't really seen the good side of his personality. The 2-1. Ball 3, this one going low. And Lake Stevens warming up a pitcher in the bullpen. And the 3-1, the windup by Will, low for a ball 4. This one getting past Trey Long, and it'll be a 1-out walk for Riley Olmstead. It'll be the 3rd walk for Will to go even with his 3 strikeouts, and will bring up Ryan Morrill, who is the last guy that Will walked. And that was back in the 2nd inning. He later got out on a 6-4 fielder's choice. And the first pitch by Will. Strike one looking. It sits the inside part of the strike zone. And Will, the 0-1. Ball 1, this one hitting just outside. Just the outside part of the strike zone. Now, there were a couple of games that were played yesterday, apart from the one between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon, the 1-1. Fly ball, this one leaning foul. And this one landed right next to the Lake Stevens bullpen, where they currently have a pitcher warming up. It looked like it might be Xander Fogel, but I may be wrong, as Josh White had to get someone from his JV team after the Vikings used 5 pitchers yesterday. in the 10-8 loss. Throw to first, not in time. And so the games that were played, oddly enough, there was a game that was way more crazier than the game that was played yesterday. It was between Kamiak and Glacier Peak, in which the Grizzlies won 16-12. The 1-2 pitch, foul ball hits the net and bounces on top of the Lake Stevens dugout. So a 1-2 count. And the game between Cascade and Monroe, which was bringing updates about, and it was had a full article on the Herald. And the 1-2 pitch, Riley Olmstead going to second base on the wild pitch. And a timeout by Lake Stevens. Trey Long going to the mound to talk to Will. And the game between Jackson and Mariner that was supposed to be played at Mariner High School got moved to today. And instead of being moved to Thursday or probably this weekend, it was moved to today. And Mariner and Jackson at Jackson High School is currently playing a doubleheader. If I had to guess correctly, they're probably towards the end of the first game right now. It was the same times as the other ones, as when Lake Stevens played Mariner a doubleheader, 3:15 and 5 o'clock. The 2-2, fly ball going to right field. Tanner Lind going back, moving a little bit, and he makes the catch. Riley Olmstead moves to third, and Mount Vernon has a runner on third base for the first time in this game. Brings up Finn Wilson into a fielder's choice that got Ryan Morrill out at second base. And Mount Vernon getting closer and closer to getting their first run on the board. And Finn Wilson in yesterday's game, he was 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a run scored. In the first 2 at-bats, he was replaced by a pinch runner. In yesterday's game, the 1-0 pitch by Will. Foul ball, this one hitting the fence behind home plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. And so today it'll be Jackson at Mariner at Jackson High School for the first game, and the second game will be 5 o'clock, Mariner at Jackson. The end of the first game is going on right now. Monroe playing at Cascade, and Glacier Peak playing at home against Kamiak. And the 1-1 pitch, a strike 2 looking. Will ahead of the count and has a chance to end the fourth, trying to make this a scoreless fourth. 1 ball and 2 strikes, Will ahead of the count. And the 1-2 pitch, the windup, fly ball, a foul hits the netting right in front of the Lake Stevens bleachers. And Kamiak, instead of starting Morgan White, in which that's what they're doing today, they started Luke Doughton and had a second pitcher go for him. So 2 pitchers, and they allowed 16 runs. The 1-2 pitch, throw to first is in time, and a nice stretch by the first baseman, Tate Brust, to get that ball in the glove in time. A nice play by Hunter Zalesko, and that will end the fourth. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 runner left on. It is no score through 4. Hudson Rhines aiming the pitch his 5th inning of work. He'll face the middle of the order, Will Wentz, Christian LaPierre, and Theron Perkins. In the top of the 5th, no score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. And we are now back in the top of the 5th inning. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. Hudson Rhines has allowed no hits through 4 innings and is looking to keep it that way here in the 5th. He'll face off against the cleanup hitter, number 34, and his counterpart, Will Wentz, who flew out to the center fielder, Ian Fitzgerald, to start the 2nd. First pitch, a strike 1 looking. Hudson, he threw 1 ball for 8 strikes and 9 pitches for a total of 15 balls, 30 strikes, and 45 pitches. And all zeros, no runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on. The 0-1. Strike 2 looking, fastball right down the middle. And overall for the game, no runs, no hits, 2 errors, nobody left on. Hudson Rhines has been golden for Mount Vernon. The 0-2 pitch, outside, ball 1. It'll be Will Wentz, Christian LaPierre, and Theron Perkins. And Hudson, the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Hudson gets Will swinging for the first out of the 5th. It is strikeout number 4 on the afternoon for Hudson. And it'll bring up Christian LaPierre. He got on base on an error. Got on base on an error by the second baseman Sven Larson after he threw it past the first baseman Christian LaPierre. First pitch outside, ball 1. He later got out on a rundown between second and third as he was tagged by Ryan Morrill before he slid into third base, very similar to what happened yesterday. The 1-0 line drive ball. A diving play by the first baseman Riley Olmstead to his right, and it gets him for the second out. A nice play by the first baseman, and it gets him. It'll take away a hit from Christian LaPierre in the second out of the 5th inning. And it'll bring up the number 6 hitter, the designated hitter, Theron Perkins. He struck out swinging on 3 pitches back in the 2nd inning and was the first strikeout victim for Hudson Rhines. And the first pitch by Hudson. Tries bunting for it. This one goes along the third base line. Morrill barehands it, throws to first. Does he get him? No, he doesn't. It's an infield single. No more no for Hudson Rhines. Theron Perkins breaks up the no-no with a 2-out bunt single. It was picked up, a barehanded grab by the third baseman Ryan Morley. He is not able to throw to first in time, and it'll bring up Hunter Zalesko, strike 1 looking. Now both teams have 1 hit each through 4 innings, almost 4.5 innings. Almost screwed that up there. Throw to first, not in time. The first base runner for Lake Stevens since Hunter back in the 3rd inning. And throw to first, not in time. It's almost like Hudson, by each inning, is getting better and better. From the 1st inning through the 4th inning, he threw 16 pitches, 12 pitches, 8 pitches, and then 9 pitches, with the number of balls he is throwing getting lower by the inning. And the 0-1 pitch, a strike 2 looking for an 0-2 count. And Hudson, throw to first, not in time. Almost gets there and at first. And Hudson, the 0-2, low for a ball 1. Finn Wilson throws to first and will not get Theron. And Hudson, the 1-2, Theron going, swing and a miss, strike 3. Finn Wilson throwing the first, and that will end the 5th. Strikeout number 5 for Hudson Rhines. And again, no hitter for Hudson Rhines. It was the PA announcer saying that it was an error by Ryan Morrill, and it wasn't an error. No, it was an infield single. 1 run, no runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on. The Vikings, they might have broken the no-hitter, but they still have a lot of work to do. We go into the bottom of the 5th inning. Will Wentz back up on the mound, facing off against the 8, 9, and 1 hitters of Kyle Wolden, Dylan Carter, and Travis Ord. And we are now back into the bottom of the 5th inning. Lake Stevens still scoreless with Mount Vernon. Will Wentz back on the mound, facing off against the number 8 hitter, Kyle Wolden, the designated hitter. If you remember the last time he was up, it took 11 pitches for Will to strike him out looking. First pitch, strike 1 looking. And Will Wentz, he had a pretty rough 4th inning, allowing a runner on third base. 9 balls, 12 strikes for 21 pitches. For a total of 70 pitches in the game. The 0-1, swing and a miss, strike 2. That ball going in the dirt. For a total of 27 balls, 43 strikes and 70 pitches. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on. For a total of no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 4 runners left on for Mount Vernon. And the 0-2 pitch by Will. 1 hopper. This one hitting the chest piece of the catcher, Trey Long. The next 5 games for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs will be starting a series this Friday on April 20th with the Glacier Peak Grizzlies. who are finishing up a series with the Kamiak Knights, then playing against Cascade. That's going to be a fun series. And then against Mariner. The 1-2 upstairs, ball 2. And the Mariner series will be the final series for Mount Vernon. And we'll decide, as Mount Vernon, one of the top teams in the West Coast standings, and we'll decide to see if they'll get another regular season title. And the 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. It is strikeout number 4 on the afternoon for Will Wentz, the first one swinging. And it'll bring up Dylan Carter, the right fielder. Got on base on a 5-pitch walk in the 3rd inning and was stranded at 2nd. First pitch by Will. Fly ball, this one going in the left field. Back goes Ben Pizer. Pizer near the wall, makes the catch. He has to go back a good few feet for that one. And on the first pitch, it'll be the second out for the Vikings. Going back to the top of the order for the 3rd time is Travis Ord, who is 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a sacrifice bunt. So the pitcher, Will Wentz, to move Carter to 2nd. First pitch, outside, ball 1. And the Lake Stevens Vikings, their next 5 games, they're going to be starting a series against the Monroe Bearcats at home on April 20th. And then against Glacier Peak, and then against Jackson. And this one, a ball going in the foul territory, is the first baseman. And the first baseman, Tate Bruss, catching it right near the fence in a Lake Stevens dugout. And that will end the 5th inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on, no score between the two teams through 5. Hudson Rhines back on the mound, or at least what we can assume to be back on the mound to his 6th inning of work. He'll face off against the 8, 9, and 1 hitters of Tanner Lynn, Brandon Miller, and Ben Pizer. As the Vikings try to get something going here in the top of the 6th, no score. And we are now back into the top of the 6th inning. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon through 5 full innings of high school baseball. Hudson Rhines back on the mound, facing off against the number 8 hitter, Tanner Lind. He had a soft liner to the left fielder, Dylan Sir, who threw out Hunter Zalesko at 2nd for a double play. First pitch, a hard hit ball going into center field. Back goes Ian Fitzgerald, who will make the running catch for the first out on the first pitch in the 6th inning. And it'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Brandon Miller. He is 0 for 1 after striking out, swinging on 3 pitches. And Hudson Rhines had a pretty good 5th inning, even though he allowed his first hit, 3 balls for 8 strikes and 11 pitches. First pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. A total of 18 balls, 38 strikes for 56 pitches, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on. The 0-1, outside, ball 1. Or it'll be low and under the strike zone for a ball 1. And a total for the game, no runs, 1 hit, 2 errors, and 1 runner left on. The 1-1 pitch. Chopper, this one going to Ryan Morrill. He'll get a bad hop on it, but it will throw to first in time, as Morrill was almost on one knee while fielding that one. He throws to first on one knee to Riley Olmstead, who gets it in time for the second out of the 6th. Goes back to the top of the order for Ben Pizer, who is 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a walk. And the first pitch by Hudson, a 1-hopper to the catcher, Finn Wilson. We rarely see those from him. That'll be a ball 1. And the 1-0 from Hudson. Hard hit ball going into center field. Back goes Ian Fitzgerald. He goes back for it, and it'll be a running catch with his back to home plate. He'll make the catch to end the top of the 6th inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on once again, as Will Wentz comes back on the mound for his 6th inning of work. He'll face off against Ian Fitzgerald, Dylan Sir, and Sven Larson. In the bottom of the 6th, no score. And we are now back into the bottom of the 6th inning. It is still no score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon in a clear pitcher's duel. And regardless of the outcome, it looked like that's what the game would look like. Will Wentz facing off against Ian Fitzgerald for the 3rd time. First pitch, a 1-hopper as the ball gets past the glove of Trey Long. And will hit the backstop behind home plate. Ian Fitzgerald, he is 0 for 2 with a couple of fly balls. First a fly ball to the first baseman, Tate Bruss, in the 1st inning. and he flew out to Hunter Zalesko in short center field in the third. The 1-0 by Will Wentz. Low for a ball 2. And Will shaking off a sign from Trey Long, the 2-0. Fly ball, that will hit the pole right next to the Lake Stevens dugout and will fall right in front of home plate for a 2-1 count. And Will Wentz had a extremely good bottom of the 5th inning. 3 balls for 5 strikes on 8 pitches, total of 30 balls, 48 strikes and 78 pitches. And all zeros, a total no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 4 runners left on. Another foul ball, this time going on the other side of the fence, right behind the Lake Stevens dugout, right near the park and the senior center. Will now ahead of the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes, shakes off a sign from Trey, the windup, and the throw from Will. Ground ball, this one getting to Hunter Zalesko. A nice pick, nice throw. Does he get him in time? Yes, he does for the first out. And a nice play by the sophomore first baseman, Tate Bross, to get that ball in time. Stretches out for that one for the first out of the 6th. Here is Dylan Sir, who has the only hit for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs in this game, or for Mount Vernon in this game. He had a 2-out single back in the first, and they have been hitless ever since. First pitch upstairs for a ball 1. Upstairs and outside. And Will, the windup in the 1-0. Swing and a miss. Strike 1. A backbreaker swing by Dylan Sir for the first strike. And the 1-1 inside ball 2. And it's really interesting how a really high-powered game like yesterday at Lake Stevens High School would later transition to a game like this. The 2-1 pitch going into the right field. Tanner Lind going back. He cannot make the catch. He dives for it. It will not make it. Dylan Sir going to second base, and the throw to second is not in time. It's a 1-out double for Dylan Sir, who has so far been the hot bat for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs, as he has both of their hits this afternoon. Here is Sven Larson. He is 0 for 2. And this is one example of how far this game has changed. Sven Larson yesterday, he went 3 for 3 with 2 runs and a walk. Now he is 0 for 2. Timeout by Lake Stevens, Josh White. Going to the mound to talk to Will Wentz. Tanner Lindy was going to his right, and then he was going to his left, and so that's where the ball was going. He tried diving for it, couldn't make the catch. But it looked like the grass wouldn't let the ball go very far, as Tanner was able to throw, and Hunter Zalesko was able to get the ball just as Dylan Sir was sliding in the second. So it looks like Xander Fogel making his first time wearing a varsity uniform for the Lake Stevens Vikings. He's currently warming up in the bullpen. And again, Josh White, the Vikings used 5 pitchers in the 10-8 loss to the Bulldogs yesterday. So they got to find as much power as they can. They can use Devin McWaters because he had 7 pitches. They can use Tate Brust, he only threw 20. Bailey Corley isn't here. Jacob Gordon threw 39, so you can't use him. And the first pitch, the windup, looks over at second, doesn't throw. And Mount Vernon, it's looking like bit by bit, inning by inning, they are getting to Will Wentz, starting with the walk in the second, then the walk in the third that had Dylan Carter go in the second, and the walk by Riley Olmstead, he went to third. Now he allows an extra base hit. First pitch upstairs, ball 1. In addition, we've also had a few amazing plays on defense, which includes the last time that Sven Larson was at the plate, with a nice play by the second baseman Brendan Miller, who threw it to first, and Tony Walden later argued the call and was let off with a warning. And the 1-0, ball 2, this one's low. And a few plays from Hunter Zalesko as well. Getting some tough balls over at the shortstop position, either throwing them to second for a fielder's choice or throwing them to first, which is tough to do on natural turf. And the 2-0 pitch way inside and way high up in the air, ball 3. And Will getting a little shaken up there, as he is now sitting at 90 pitches through 5 1/3. And Will looking over at second base. And the 3-0 pitch. Fastball right down the middle, strike one looking. Is now at 91 pitches. Now, another question for Josh White is that, will he start Justin Troya in Friday's game? He threw 65 pitches, and the pitch rule says he can. The 3-1, upstairs, ball 4, Mount Vernon. They have multiple base runners. It is the first time in this game that both teams have multiple base runners, and Josh White is going to take Will Wentz out of the game. And they're going to bring in a new pitcher. They're going to bring in number 32, Xander Fogel, making his first varsity appearance. We'll take a quick break here. 1 out and runners on first and second. No score between Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon. Will Wentz with an incredible performance. But can the Vikings keep the Bulldogs scoreless in the bottom of the 6th inning? And we are now back into the bottom of the 6th inning. Lake Stevens, they are facing a situation in which they have runners on first and second base. And they have number 32, Xander Fogel, currently on the mound replacing Will Wentz for the Lake Stevens Vikings. And the first 2 pitches for Fogel, his first varsity appearance against Riley Olmsted. Strikes looking as Xander ahead of the count. And the 0-2 pitch, fly ball. And that one will be out for a foul. Will Wentz finishing with 5 1/3, allowing 2 hits. Currently no earned runs, but he is responsible for Søren Larson at second and first base. He walked 4 batters, and he struck out 4 batters in 92 pitches. And the 0-2 pitch, looking over at second base, steps off the mound. That's a balk by Fogel, and the runners will advance. And the 0-2, swing and a miss, strike 3, a huge strikeout to Riley Olmsted by the sophomore Xander Fogel to bring up the number 6 hitter Ryan Morrill. And now the Vikings are 1 out away from getting out of this jam. They are 0 for 1. First pitch, ground ball. This one going to Zalesko at shortstop. The throw to first is in time, and it will end a threat. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, 2 runners left on, and through 6 it is all zeros. Hudson Rhines going back on the mound to try and pitch a complete game in the top of the 7th inning, facing off against Trey Long, Connor Bardu, and Will Wentz, the heart of the Lake Stevens lineup, as the Vikings try to get their first run on the board. And we are now back into the top of the 7th inning. Lake Stevens and Mount Vernon, they are still scoreless. Hudson Rhines still on the mound for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. He is doing pretty good. For the Bulldogs, they'll be facing off against Trey Long for the 3rd time around. First pitch, swing and a miss, strike 1. Hudson Rhines had a pretty good 6th inning, 2 balls for 4 strikes and 6 pitches, his lowest pitch total in any inning so far in this game for 20 balls, 42 strikes, and 62 pitches. The 0-2, a hard hit ball, a line shot to the center fielder, Ian Fitzgerald, for the first out of the 7th inning. And it'll bring up the number 3 hitter, Connor Bardu. He is 0 for 2 with a fly out to center and a ground out to the second baseman, Sven Larson, to end the 4th. And the first pitch by Hudson. Swing and a miss, strike 1. And Hudson, the 0-1. Hard hit ball. This one going into right center field, and that will fall. And Connor Bardou with a 1-out single, and it's Lake Stevens' second hit of the afternoon. And also Will Wentz will also be playing first base for Tate Brust. I forgot to mention that there was that defensive change as well. Will Wentz, he is 0 for 2 with a flyout and a strikeout in the second inning and in the fifth. First pitch low for a ball 1. And the throw to first, not in time to get Connor Hudson Rines, the junior right-hander. He is, I'm going to say it's because of the experience he had early in the year. He is not mentally phased at all by what he's doing in this game. He steps off the mound, and he might be phased, might be close to be mentally phased. If he is ever going to get mentally phased, this will be the closest to it. The 1-0 pitch, strike one looking right down the middle. And I can see this being a smart decision by the head coach, Tony Wolden. He had a decision of either starting Hudson Rines or Ryan Morrill. And last year, Ryan Morrill pitched against the Vikings and didn't do really good. He allowed all 7 runs that the Vikings scored. Stepped off the mound, and Ryan Morrill ended up getting the loss. So it was either, start a guy that's never pitched against the Vikings before and take your chances, or start a guy that has pitched against the Vikings before and is lost and didn't pitch too well against them. 1-1. One hopper to the catcher, Finn Wilson, for a ball 2.
Christian. Big shit right here. Go William up there. Go. Get with it.
Will ahead of the count on Hudson, the 2-1. Strike. Ooh, that one's a ball 3. That was, gets right under the strike zone. That is Hudson's favorite spot throughout the entire game. And now Hudson is behind the count, 3 balls and 1 strikes, the 3-1. Ball 4, and it will be the second walk for Hudson Rines, and it will be the first time that Lake Stevens will have multiple base runners. And here comes Christian Lapierre. He is 0 for 1, got on base on an error by the second baseman Sven Larson in the second inning. And he popped out to the, he lined out to the first baseman Riley Olmstead. It was a really good defensive play back in the 5th. And pinch running for Will Wentz. And our first substitute, apart from the pitchers in today's game, will be number 15, Bryce Mefford. The timeout by Mount Vernon, the entire infield, along with the catcher Finn Wilson, talking with the manager Tony Wolden on the mound. Bryce Mefford, even though so far he hasn't done much, pay attention to him when he is on the base paths. Again, I said earlier this year that he is one of the more electrifying players coming out of the junior varsity team last year, and I mean that by personality-wise and by what he does on the field. He is one of the fastest players to come off of last year's very successful junior varsity team, led by Jacob Strong and Jake Harris, as they do a really good job coaching the Lake Stevens junior varsity team in the past couple of years since Roger Anderson left a few years ago. First pitch, tries bunting for it, ball 1 for a 1-0 count. Mount Vernon, they have activity in the bullpen. They have a guy back there, but he's wearing a black pullover, so we can't really tell what his jersey number is. Oh yeah, like someone's gonna listen to this like, oh, I can relate to that. Rines, the 1-0. Check swing, did he go? No, he did not go. Ball 2, check swing. And then there are a couple of things I like about Mount Vernon and Sherman Anderson Field. One of them is looks at second, doesn't throw. One of them is the very determined fans that go to every game. This is every time I've seen Lake Stevens play Mount Vernon. Timeout by the Vikings. Josh White talking to Christian LaPierre on a 2-0 count. It's the fans that show up to every Mount Vernon game, especially the home games. It's especially the parents that are more outspoken about calls and instead of, the players in the dugout, which you don't really see that often in high school baseball, especially around here. And I just think that's fun to watch, regardless if you're trailing by 10 or up by 10. I just think that's fun to watch. And then another one is the field, is the area. Right now is blue skies on a natural grass field. You can't find a better day than that. And the 2-0 pitch inside, strike one looking. The Vikings, they have a runner in scoring position for the first time since the third inning. And has a chance to get their first run on the board as well. Ryan's getting the sign from Wilson, the 2-1. Ground ball that's getting off the glove. Go into Larson, who tags Mefford. Throws to first, is not in time, and the Vikings have runners on the corners. It'll be Sven Larson, who will field a slow grounder and will tag Bryce Mefford as he gets to second base. Connor Bardou moves to third, and here is Theron Perkins. Keep in mind, this is the first time that he's been in the lineup in almost 2 weeks. First time this month, in the month of April, that he's been in the lineup. And now we see who's warming up in the bullpen. That's Skylar Jensen. He has not appeared in this game today, but he was the designated hitter and the number 9 hitter in yesterday's win. The first pitch, swing and a miss, strike one. As the Vikings have a runner on third for the first time this afternoon. And as Connor Bardou, who leads the team in runs, the slow grounder, and that gets into the hole in right field, and the Vikings get on the board first on an RBI single by Theron Perkins. RBI number 5 on the year. And what a return in these past couple of days for the junior Theron Perkins. And the Vikings get the first run of the game on the board. A 1-0 Lake Stevens lead. Here is Hunter Zalesko. He is 0 for 1. It was a slow ground ball that was going in the perfect path towards the outfield. It got past Ryan Morrill, and it barely got past the shortstop Travis Ord, and Bardou scored with ease from third base, and the Vikings have a 1-0 lead. And the first pitch from Rhines, and this will hit Hunter Zalesko on the left elbow, and its base is loaded. The third time this year that Hunter has been beaned, and this is the first time in this game we had to wait until the top of the 7th inning for there to be a bases loaded situation. And now there will be a pinch hitter for Lake Stevens. Once again, it will be number 14, Aaron Lampinen. He was a pinch hitter in yesterday's game and was walked with the bases loaded. Keep in mind, he was up at the plate yesterday with the bases loaded. He is up at the plate now with the bases loaded again. First pitch by Hudson. Strike one looking. Christian at third, Theron at second, Hunter at first. And the 0-1. Strike two looking. Fastball right down the middle. And the 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three, a foul tip, and gets into the glove, and that will end the top of the 7th inning. The Vikings get the first run of the game on the board. It is 1 run on 2 hits, no errors, and 3 runners left on. Xander Fogel looking to get his first win of the year in his first varsity start. In the bottom of the 7th inning, he'll face the bottom 3 hitters of Finn Wilson, Kyle Walden, and Dylan Carter as the Lake Stevens Vikings take a 1-0 lead going into the bottom of the 7th inning. And we are now back in the bottom of the 7th inning. It is number 32, Xander Fogel, the sophomore, in the bottom of the 7th inning, facing off against the catcher, Finn Wilson. Strike one looking to the catcher. It's his first time around against Fogel, third time in this game. He is 0 for 2. Got into a fielder's choice and grounded out to the shortstop, Hunter Zalesko, to end the 4th. And the 0-1. Strike two looking. I am not joking you. In the 6th inning, all he threw was strikes. No balls, 5 strikes, and 5 pitches. In the 6th, total of no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 2 runners left on. And the 0-2, outside, ball 1. For a total of no runs on 2 hits, no errors, and 6 runners left on. Xander Fogel also got a balk in that inning. The 1-2, ground ball. This one barely getting foul. And from this angle right here, that ball barely got foul. That one getting to the other side of the line before it hit the bag and was mere millimeters away from hitting the third base bag, which would have automatically been a fair ball. There's still 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fogel ahead of the count. And the windup in the 1-2. Ground ball. This one going to Hunter Zalesko. The throw to first base. The first baseman, Will Wentz, in time for out number 1. And we got a pinch hitter for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. Pinch hitting for Kyle Walden will be number 17, Lane Harlan. He was the starting first baseman in yesterday's game, and he went 0 for 1. He got hit in the 2nd inning and was walked twice, getting an RBI and a run in the process. And he was also the winning pitcher in yesterday's game, as he threw 2 2/3 innings of relief, throwing 38 pitches. First pitch, a 1-hopper, the tray long, and it hit the fence for a 1-0 count. It's bringing back memories of a game a few years ago in 2015. But these two teams played in the West Coast semifinals, and a 2-0 count inside, ball 2. And it was a pitcher's duel between 2 really good pitchers. It was Lake Stevens, after winning in the first round. They're playing in the West Coast semifinals. It was Skylar Swords for the Vikings versus Ryan Fredrickson for Mount Vernon. It also ended in a 1-0 victory when the Vikings scored in the top of the 7th. And the 2-0 pitch outside, ball 3. And Xander behind on the count for a 3-0 count. And Will Wentz, he'll get a no decision in this game. The 3-0 pitch. Strike one looking right down the middle for a fastball. And Fogel, the 3-1. Strike two looking, a full count, 3-2. Fogel turning around the pitch count from a 3-0 count to a 3-2 count for a full count against Lane Harlan. And the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. It's a huge strikeout. Harlan slams his bat as he walks back to the dugout. The second strikeout for Xander Fogel. And it brings up the number 9 hitter, Dylan Carter, who is the last hope for the Mount Vernon Bulldogs. He is 0 for 1 with a walk in the 3rd, and he flew out to the left fielder. First pitch, outside, ball 1. And Xander, the 1-0, upstairs, ball 2. Xander doing a really good job in that at-bat with Lane Harlan. It was a 3-0 count. The Bulldogs looked like they were going to have their game-tying run at first, and then he just threw the pitch in the right spot. And the 2-0 count, a strike one looking with Dylan still ahead of the count. In the 3rd inning, he was walked on 5 pitches and was stranded at second. And the 2-1 pitch is a ball 3, and that is the closest pitch I've ever seen to hitting a batter, and has never been called if I've ever seen one. 3 balls and 1 strike. The 3-1 by Fogel. Strike two looking, another full count 3-2. And Xander with one more strike to pull off practically one of the more exciting games of the year and to cap off an exciting regular season series. And the payoff pitch by Fogel, ground ball to Connor. Gets a bad hop, throw to first, did he get it? Yes, he did! And this game belongs to the Lake Stevens Vikings. After losing 10-8 in a heartbreaker, the Vikings get their revenge by beating the Mount Vernon Bulldogs, the final score of 1-0. Lake Stevens getting their 5th win of the year. They are now 5-7 and back up to a 500 record in conference play with a 4-4 conference record. The Mount Vernon Bulldogs looks like they're going to have to find their 10th win later in the season. They are now 9-5 with a 5-3 conference record. The winning pitcher is Xander Fogel. In his first game from the junior varsity team, gets his first win. The losing pitcher, it's a heartbreaker to say it, Hudson Rhines is the losing pitcher. He had a really good run, but eventually he couldn't cap off the 7th inning as he wasn't mentally in it. But good luck to the Mount Vernon Bulldogs for the rest of their season, and hopefully we get to play them in another postseason meeting. The next game for the Lake Stevens Vikings, they'll be playing at home on April 20th, as the Vikings will play against the Monroe Bearcats, who are currently capping off a series between them and the Cascade Bruins down in Everett. My name is Payne Patchett. You've been listening to Lake Stevens Vikings Varsity Baseball, and we'll see you on Friday, April 20th, 2018, for the first conference meeting between the Lake Stevens Vikings and the Monroe Bearcats.